Tony D, back from the eye doctor, and this is a screenwriter's rant with Little Joan about The Alto Night, starring Robert De Niro as Vito Genovese and Robert De Niro as Frank Costello. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 16, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. If you thought Robert De Niro didn't do enough gangster stuff, didn't do enough roles as a mobster, then you get more bang for your buck here, because it's Robert De Niro talking to Robert De Niro, and he's doing his gangster shtick. And I got to be honest, he sounds exactly the same in both roles. There's not a hair's breadth difference between his two characterizations, at least in this trailer. One character has a hat and glasses, and the other character doesn't. And that's about it. One's in a tie, one's not. For those of you who don't know, I also wrote about the mafia, which doesn't exist. And I know that Vito Genovese, he was very much a mobster. Frank Costello, he was one of the few mobsters that retired. He tried to be very legitimate. I always felt that was a better strategy in the mafia. It also could get people killed. And what happens, and they dramatize this, is Vito Genovese, tries to whack Frank Costello. They shoot him, but he survives, and then he decides to retire. He goes up against Vito for a short time, but realizes his power is on the wane and decides to retire. And he did. And he continued to be influential in mafia circles, but he was not a boss any longer. The Genovese crime family took over, but Vito was kind of a mobster. He was in and out of prison. Eventually, he was set up by Lucky Luciano himself and sent to prison. I think he died in prison, or if not, right after he got out. He died in like 1969. But he was a mobster. So I don't know why Robert De Niro thought this would be a good idea. This sounds like an incredibly bad idea. This sounds like an ego-driven thing. Oh, wow, what if Robert, you played both mob bosses? Oh, that'd be great. I'd love that. Like, this is so ridiculous to me, because back in the day, Robert De Niro was considered the actor's actors. He was considered, oh my God, Robert De Niro, he's only in good movies. He's only in critically acclaimed movies. And then came the 2000s, and he started doing all kinds of crazy movies where he played like Party Grandpa and Meet the Fockers and a whole bunch of movies that seemed so beneath the great actor Robert De Niro. And then I saw him in The Irishman, and it's just not a good movie. I mean, you want to talk about jumping the shark with mob movies. The Irishman it's just sort of there. And De Niro's too old for the role. They tried this new technology to try to cover the lifespan of this mobster, and it didn't really work, for my money. This looks like, it's kind of ridiculous. It really is. Not only is De Niro in a hat and glasses as Vito, his face is virtually the same. Like, they're not really changing his face when he's Frank Costello. And part of the problem, too, is, as a genre, the mafia stuff's been, all the good stuff's been told, This is just yet another event in the mafia world. Yeah, it's mildly interesting. Frank Costello actually got to retire, but beyond that, it doesn't feel like it's really treading any new ground. Just seems like there's going to be a lot of usual mafia stuff from the peak of this is really peak mafia, this era. From about, I'll say the 50s, from about the late 40s, right after World War II, till about, I'm going to say the 80s and 90s when things started to go sideways for the families and John Gotti's. John Gotti was kind of the last real mob boss in terms of the flamboyancy, the public awareness of him. They're all very dangerous, don't get me wrong. There's ones now that are much more secretive, and they are very smart to be secretive. They're more like Carlo Gambino, who was... They couldn't even find a photo of that guy for the longest time. He stayed off the radar. He lived a modest lifestyle. But, in terms of a movie... when you're trying to be very serious in a movie like this, I think it comes off as hilarious if you have an actor playing two roles. It would be different if he was in so much makeup you couldn't even recognize him, or if they played down the fact that he was playing both roles. You're playing it up. This isn't a comedy. Like in a comedy, you can get away with it. When Eddie Murphy played like half the roles in Meet the Frumps, I can't say it was hilarious, but it works as a comedy movie. So, this just makes it kind of ridiculous, in my view. Although people seem to be liking it, I don't know. Let's see some of the comments. I'm dying to read the comments. When De Niro said the greatest actor he ever worked with was himself, he meant... he meant this, I guess he means to say. Cherish the last years we have with this actor still living. Can't wait to see it. Robert De Niro 2 times. He's gonna get the viewers. Get the viewers. Robert De Niro to Robert De Niro. You talking to me? A close-up shot of spaghetti confirms it's a real gangster movie. What's it gonna be? Kind of not the rise and fall of the usual mafia stuff. Really, it's going to be kind of the rise and fall of Vito, while Frank Costello probably takes the correct, quote-unquote, correct route and continues to live and, outlive his rival. Probably be a lot of metaphors about how the new gangsters aren't respectful, that kind of thing. That seems to start happening in that era, late 60s, early 70s. That's when the cracks start to show, but their power still doesn't really start to really wane until, I'm going to say, around the 80s. Around the 80s, Gotti's kind of like the last big guy, and then by the 2000s, the feds changed the rules to the point at which they were going to get these guys no matter what. But they may, and I predicted this for a while, they're probably on the comeback trail because they've, A, gone back underground to a large extent, I think, and B, the feds have been focused on almost everything else other than these guys. So it'll be interesting. So what's the ending? Yeah, the ending's like, Frank Costello in his penthouse apartment taking care of his flowers, and Vito is in jail and he dies. So who was right, who was wrong kind of thing, I guess. But, yeah, the Alto Knights. It's got a weird name. I'm not sure what that refers to. Let's read the write-up. The most dangerous enemy is an old friend, starring Robert De Niro, only in theaters March 21st. The film follows two of New York's most notorious organized crime bosses, Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, both De Niro, as they vie for control of the city streets. Once the best of friends, petty jealousies, and a series of betrayals place them on a deadly collision course that will reshape the mafia and America forever. I don't know if they were the best of friends. That doesn't seem to come through in the write-ups about them. I mean, they certainly were known to each other. The Alto Nights was written by Oscar nominee Nicholas Pileggi, Goodfellas. That's a good cred. And produced by Oscar winner Irwin Winkler, Rocky and Goodfellas, Levinson, Jason Sosnoff, Charles Winkler, and David Winkler. I wonder if they're related to Henry Winkler, with David Drake executive producing. De Niro stars with Deborah Messing? Deborah Messing in a gangster movie? I hope she looks very different. Cosmo Jarvis, Michael Rispoldi, Michael Adler, Ed Amatrudo, Joe Bassino, Anthony J. Gallo, Wallace Langman, Louis Mastillo, Frank Piccarello, Matt Servito, and Robert Uciola. Who is the director? Joining Levinson. Oh, is it Barry Levinson? Is he's directing this? Let's just make sure. On the IMDb. The Alto Nights. Not sure where he called it that. Yeah, Barry Levinson. Okay. Alto Nights, not the. So, yeah. It's a good cast. I mean, if Paul Sorvino was alive, he'd probably be in it. One of the guys is from The Sopranos. I recognized him in, I can't find his name. He played Tony Soprano's boss who dies of cancer, if you remember him. But I don't know. Would I see this? Probably. I usually watch mob movies. I like them. Is it going to be good, though? I don't know. I'm just going to laugh through the scenes with Robert De Niro talking to himself. I mean, with today's technology, you could really make it look good. I mean, it looks good. You're not going to get that line down the middle of the thing, but they're not going to touch much on the table, I'll tell you that. So, I don't know, man. I think you needed another actor with the gravitas of De Niro, whatever gravitas he has left. I think it would have been much better with, I mean, maybe they couldn't get Pacino. I think Pacino kind of blew him away in The Irishman, quite frankly. But some older Italian actor could have been on the opposite side of the table. I mean, there's still plenty of guys around. Why not have that? I think it's weird to have Robert De Niro, but I'd probably catch this on streaming. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. I got to go do some stuff. They'll be back with more videos. Check us out on the green site, the orange site, and the black site for more videos. There's 3 other sites I'm on, and the other 2 videos go on there because you can't talk about politics on YouTube anymore. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.